This is a podcast or something like that. Hey, what's up? How's it going? Welcome to episode 72 of the Verbal Journal podcast. That's right. Let's hear it. 72. Wow. All right. Well, that's it. And I hope you had a good episode. Oh, wait, no. Forgot to record the episode. Okay, yeah. No, I'm going to say more. Actually. Welcome. So I skipped a week. Sorry about that. I'll explain in a bit what was going on. But first we have, that was just a teaser. Okay. So it's the Verbal Journal podcast. Obviously, the last episode that was made, last episode was public. It was episode 71. It was 13 days ago, 14 really, but I guess it was earlier in the day. Or right now it is earlier in the day, than I recorded the previous one. So it hasn't been a full 14 days as far as YouTube is concerned. But yeah, public episode. 94 listens on YouTube and, some on Patreon. That's great. We're blowing up, almost cracking 100 views or listens. That's big, so things are great here. At the podcast ever since, now that was the 5th public episode. So, things are starting to really catch fire. For example, a huge milestone for the podcast. Someone commented on YouTube on the post about the public episode that they don't want the whole, that they think it's wrong for the podcast to be behind a paywall. So, I post a public episode and then someone commented, and by the way, this comment was, I believe, deleted by the moderators here at Verbal Journal Podcast Corp. So, I had nothing to do with that, but you won't see it, but it was there. I have, records of it. It's been authenticated. Someone commented that they think it's wrong that the podcast is behind a paywall. And that's a huge milestone for the podcast. That's just a huge milestone. For someone to be, and it was deleted because it was the only comment, and comments are sometimes deleted for aesthetic reasons. It just doesn't really, at the end of the day, people can say whatever they want, but if it's right there under my podcast that I do and, the post, it's a little bit abrasive. So sometimes it has to be pruned. Sometimes you have to prune the comments like they're bushes, But that's still, we were all very gratified to see that comment here at What's Therapy Corp and Verbal Journal Podcast Productions Incorporated Corp. Because no one's ever complained before about the podcast being behind a paywall, and that is good. That's a huge milestone. That is good. Usually there are so many other complaints that we deal with here, So the idea that, the thing people don't understand, because it's way better to get that complaint than that the podcast, isn't a sufficient reward for the paywall. That would be a much worse complaint, because the whole it being behind a paywall, it's the only thing behind the paywall for the last year, essentially. So, think of it from the perspective of the paywall. I gotta get paid. And also, obviously, I've said this before, but as someone making free videos on the internet, I think you have every right to get paid for the work you've already done. If you're a quote unquote content creator and you make a bunch of stuff and give it out for free, I think you have the right to have a Patreon with providing no further value, just simply to give people the option to pay you for the work you've already made. When I watch dozens of hours of content by someone, I usually end up giving them at least $5 or $10, and that's a nice thing that I feel good about. And so I think other people feel the same way. So the fact that I do a podcast is I do it for myself. It's been a very fun experiment. Obviously I do it for my employers here as well, but I'm reading a script right now. They tell me to say this, that I do it for myself, and they even write into the script to talk about the script sometimes. I do have times where I improvise, of course, but the majority of this is highly scripted in every single thing, including when I take sips of coffee. So anyways, I take it as a good thing that we are generating interest in the podcast. Someone is complaining that they want access to it. A huge majority, probably the majority of people who have ever supported the channel just pay a few bucks. And I think 4 podcasts a month is a pretty good deal for that, 3 in this past month because there was no podcast last week, and there have been no complaints about that, to be honest. So, next up is just a brief point. I've done the video podcasts. Why did we not break 100 views, right? Because the previous public episode 67, has 141 views, and I do say views correctly actually now because that was a video. That was the first and only so far video episode of the podcast. There will be more. In fact, I think the next episode is going to be a video. I'm going to do a video episode for the next one, but it's just going to be for Patreon and members, just for channel supporters, because the public is only going to be a video episode every now and then, but I'm going to do some for people who support the channel too. And it's fun to be on video. I don't mind, But I did realize that people like podcasts to have video, even if they don't watch the video, so they can feel like they're the ones tuning out the video, you know what I mean? Rather than the podcast denying them video. People want to feel like it's my choice that I'm choosing to listen to something, but I could watch it. I don't want to feel that taken away from me. I want to feel like I, really could watch it. That's important. So that was social commentary. That was just some introductory social commentary. So we took a week off. I took a week off. I'm going to be honest. So why did we not have a podcast last week? It was because of me, the talent. You know what I mean? I just said I'm taking a week off. I'm inspired by Donna. That's right, Donna, the producer, if you're new. We have a small staff here. We got Donna is the producer. They've been helping out helping out is a normal way to put it. They've been in charge for, a couple months. I don't remember, whatever. It was a seamless introduction. But yeah, they got back from a 3.5 week vacation to Poland or something. I already forgot where they went. They didn't. They're always talking about it. When I was traveling, it's every conversation at the office with Donna just starts with them talking about how they were recently traveling. Yeah, this part was not in the script, which is obvious because Donna writes the scripts. So back to so I took a week off. I was inspired. I wanted to sort of roam in the wilderness. So that was something that I did. I left society for a week and I just decided to roam in the wilderness. No, I just actually was visiting a friend and I stayed with a friend and we hung out and went to the beach and had some fun and Yeah, it was cool. I don't know. I like taking a week off. No one really cares, I don't think, here at the podcast. It's kind of casual. Sometimes I make it sound like it's this formal organization. I'll be honest. That's not every detail that I describe is necessarily true. Sometimes I'm maybe misrepresenting what goes on here, but only very slightly. And it only because I'm told to by my employer. So, okay. Grinds my gears segment, nothing there. I don't know why. I feel like we're supposed to have things each week. That was going to be this huge thing, this introduction of the grinds my gears segment, right? Come on the spot. What's something that grinds my gears? I'm always getting frustrated and annoyed. Why am I? Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Wait. Is that good? So, public areas where there's no trash can. I was recently at a train station, and there was at a huge train station, and there was no trash can in the whole area where everyone was waiting. It was really weird. So I asked this person who worked at one of the food places or the coffee places or whatever there, and I was like, hey, can I throw this cup away in your trash can? And they were like, yeah, sure. And I was like, why do you think there's no trash can out here? And they were like, oh, they don't put trash cans out there to what was, I don't know the word he used. It was just because they don't want people to litter, or they don't want people to leave their trash around. And I was like, doesn't that seem kind of counterintuitive? Because not having a trash can makes it so people have to leave their trash around. And he was like, yeah, I don't know. I was like, okay. So anyways, yeah, generally good idea to, if you're designing a public facility, have there be some sort of, receptacle for people to throw trash away. It doesn't incentivize people to create trash. You know what I mean? People aren't seeing a trash can and thinking, whoa, I should go create some trash. Is it that they don't want to hire people to empty the trash cans? I don't know. Okay. So great. That was a spontaneous grinds. Well, we did, I think on the last episode, we had a spontaneous grinds my gears segment, but it was that was completely spontaneous. That wasn't I had to think of one on the spot. That was I just happened to think of one on the spot. So, good job, me here. That's why they call me the talent. Okay, main section, just a bit of a vibe change. Bit of a vibe change. I don't get these docs, with the scripts until the morning of the episode. So if it ever seems like there's an abrupt vibe shift, that's why. You know what I mean? So PBS NewsHour reports, and every news outlet, I just chose one news outlet, but every news outlet is reporting on this. As of 2 days ago, top UN court says Israel's presence in occupied Palestinian territories is, quote, illegal and should end as, quote, rapidly as possible. So this has obviously been something going on since the intensification of violence since October 7th, when Israel has been bombing and terrorizing the Palestinian people in the occupied territories, times 10,000 the norm. Because the way this stuff works is they do it progressively. And so they had this impetus from the October 7th, terrorist attack, for there's no other way to call it, that Hamas perpetrated. And so Israel just uses that as a pretext to ramp up its genocidal colonial project. And, I'm Jewish. I know the Jews have the right to a homeland. Everyone has the right to a homeland. That's a great idea. But, sorry, there were people living there, and they've been murdered. They've been brutally murdered. So it's just an absolutely horrible thing that needs to stop. And personally, and I posted about this a few months ago on YouTube, I do think that law is good, frankly. I think that's something most people can agree on, is that we should, have laws. And I think that there should be international laws because there are international entities. And, I think a genocide, it's not like you can sit around and be like, oh man, there's a genocide happening, but I just can't find the laws it breaks. You know what I mean? Like it's just that we have to have an apparatus to execute justice on an international scale. Otherwise, it's just a ridiculous situation where, we don't have the ability to stop the worst type of crime that can literally happen. I can't imagine how there's a worse crime than genocide. And obviously, the Israel, defense forces, they're called. They called their military the defense. That's the greatest, Orwellian, for as much as I'm not like some huge fan of Orwell, like some things are interesting from his work and probably not a part of his spying for turning over of names of radicals to the British government. Like some things he did were probably disconnected from the bad things that he was involved in and the counter-revolutionary reactionary programs that he was connected to, apparently, from what I understand of Orwell's biography. But one thing he got right is the way that words are manipulated, and it's such an he understood it. I think probably he maybe always didn't use his power for good, but he did understand how words can be manipulated. And the idea of calling a military force a defense force is just beautiful. And we have the U.S. defense budget. Oh, I like spending. As a therapist, I think we're a little defensive. I think we're a little defensive. And at the end of the day, like if someone acts wrongly towards you, that doesn't give you the right to kill them, right? Israel could kill the people involved in if someone literally if they catch the people perpetrating the October 7th violence while they're perpetrating the October 7th violence, then sure, you can kill them. I assume, you know what I mean? I don't think it's good. I'm not a fan of the death penalty. I don't think you can kill in retaliation. But if you catch someone, if you have no way else of stopping someone from killing you or someone you love, I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? But that's literally defense. That's not abusing the term defense. So anyways, obviously it's absurd and you have to be brainwashed, as many people are. And, I grew up as a Jewish American, you grow up pretty brainwashed about Israel, even if it wasn't super pervasive in my mind. And I went on a trip to Israel during college, but I didn't do it as a kid. No one made me go on Birthright. I did it when I was in college and I was 20 because I was I want to get a free trip to the Middle East, even if it's just going to Israel on their, little tour that they take you on, which is a super weird thing to do. And it is this very strange thing, Birthright. You literally get a free trip to Israel because you are Jewish. They just fly you out to Israel and give you, it's a week and a half free tour in a lot of fairly nice locations. And it's so weird. I was 20. I was not politically radical in any way. I was sort of sheltered, but I wasn't a Zionist. And I was I know this is just going to be propaganda and I don't care. I'm just going to enjoy the view. And I did. So anyways, but I just re-listened to parts of the recording and there's like this popping when I listen to it in Ableton, but there isn't when I export a little sample as a test. So I think the audio is fine. If there's a popping, I'm really sorry and let me know. But I think it's fine. And it's just a weird glitch in Ableton. But I hate using technology. Part of the reason I don't make videos anymore is just like it's so annoying to be on the computer all the time. I just like doing other things. But anyways, what I was talking about was like there's a lot of brainwashing, and you do have to be brainwashed to see the horrible degree of violence that Israel is committing in its military attacks and see that as like a justified response. Like there's no response that's justified that would justify that. There's nothing you could be responding to that it would be worth responding to with such a massive scale of violence. It's horrific. They are mutilating people's lives and families in the thousands and tens of thousands. And they've been doing this for a century or so, but like, decades, since 1948, obviously, it's been like there's been these periodic situations where it's escalated. And usually it is as a quote unquote defense. Of course, that's the pretext. That's how it works. That doesn't justify it. Hitler thought he was acting in defense. Like everyone says they're acting in defense. That's always how it works. It's just, you can't do that. You can't kill people, period. You can't kill people. You can't do things that would obviously kill people, like drop bombs on civilian areas. That's just wrong. You can't do that ever. It's never okay. It's not justified. You're never allowed to do that. And if you do that, you need to be punished. You need to stop. So anyways, should it be illegal to kill a bunch of people because they're, like not Jewish settlers living in that area? I think yes would be my answer. And that's the position of the Verbal Journal Podcast Incorporated Productions Incorporated, is that we think it should be illegal to kill people. So it follows that if there should be laws that can work internationally and it should be illegal to kill people, then we need some sort of legal system internationally that would enforce it being illegal to kill people internationally. You know what I mean? Because, like, you can't necessarily trust, in this case, Israel's legal system to stop Israel from killing people. That you just don't want to rely on. And unfortunately, you can't rely on Palestinian legal structures for enforcing justice in this case with Israel either, unfortunately. Obviously, if Palestine could do that, we wouldn't be in this situation, I would guess. So the top UN court ruled Friday that Israel's presence in the Palestinian occupied territories is, quote, unlawful, and called on it to end, pointing to the building and expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, its annexation and imposition of permanent control over lands, and discriminatory policies against Palestinians. The International Court of Justice was issuing a non-binding opinion on the legality of Israel's 57-year occupation of lands. I said a century because people were, colonizing the lands for over a century at this point, ever since the very late 1800s. But it was obviously a very different situation before settlers became the majority and took over. Anyways, 57-year occupation of land sought for a Palestinian state, and the ruling is likely to have more effect on international opinion than it will on Israeli policies. The court's panel of 15 judges from around the world said Israel has abused its status as the occupying power in the West Bank and East Jerusalem by carrying out policies of annexing territory, imposing permanent control, and building settlements. It said Israel must end settlement construction immediately. That's the thing. They try to change they do change the quote unquote facts on the ground, which means they just colonize land and they move people in, because once you have people living on that land, it's a more difficult process to change the land. You're changing reality, so you're making it harder to negotiate a peace process that would make that land the other people's who didn't just colonize it by force. So a lot of things in life come down to, do you believe that might equals right? I think that's something that came up in my Better Call Saul videos quite a lot. The whole wolves and sheep thing is a might is right argument. It's moral nihilism, or there's another word for it, just a more complicated phrase, like not a epistemological nihilism, but some other, whatever. It's moral nihilism, essentially, where it's, there's no such thing as principles of right and wrong. It's just might equals right. And it is, I'd like to think that people who suffer with this could reflect on it and outgrow it. I'd like to think that. But it's a lack of empathy in a sense. It's a lack of facts. So yeah, changing the facts on the ground. That's sort of what that is. It said such acts render, quote, Israel's presence in the occupied Palestinian territory unlawful. It says its continued presence was, quote, illegal and should be ended as, quote, rapidly as possible. Israel, which normally considers the United Nations and international tribunals as unfair and biased, did not send a legal team to the hearings, but it submitted written comments saying that the questions put to the court are prejudiced and fail to address Israeli security concerns. Israeli officials have said the court's intervention could undermine the peace process, which has stagnated, that's a typo, for more than a decade. Come on, PBS, get your shit together. This is important. Israel is complaining about the peace process stagnating. That's insane. They could obviously negotiate peace if they wanted to negotiate. They could definitely make peace if that was a priority. They are the ones mainly in control of that. In the opinion read out by court president Nawaf Salam, the court found that, quote, the transfer by Israel of settlers to the West Bank and Jerusalem, as well as Israel's maintenance of their presence, is contrary to Article 49 of the Fourth Geneva Convention, end quote. The court also noted with, quote, grave concern that Israel's settlement policy has been expanding. They've been expanding their settlement policy. The court also found that Israel's use of natural resources was, quote, inconsistent, end quote, with its obligations under international law as an occupying power. Using up the natural resources as an occupying power is unlawful. Friday's ruling comes against the backdrop of Israel's devastating 10-month military assault on Gaza, which was triggered by the Hamas-led attacks in southern Israel. In a separate case, the International Court of Justice is considering a South African claim that Israel's campaign in Gaza amounts to genocide, a claim that Israel vehemently denies. Israel captured the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza Strip in the 1967 Mideast War. The Palestinians seek all three areas for an independent state. Israel considers the West Bank to be disputed territory whose future should be decided in negotiations, while it has moved population there in settlements to solidify its hold. It has annexed East Jerusalem in a move that is not internationally recognized, while it withdrew from Gaza in 2005 but maintained a blockade of the territory after Hamas took power in 2007. The international community generally considers all three areas to be occupied territory. At hearings in February, then Palestinian Foreign Minister Riyad Malki accused Israel of apartheid and urged the United Nations top court to declare that Israel's occupation of land sought by the Palestinians is illegal and must end immediately and unconditionally for any hope for a two-state future to survive. Yeah. Israel, which normally considers the United Nations and international tribunals as unfair and biased, I read that. Did I just read that in the introduction earlier or something? It submitted written comments saying the questions put to the court are prejudiced and failed to recognize Israel's right and duty to protect its citizens, address Israeli security concerns, or acknowledge Israel-Palestinian agreements to negotiate issues, including, quote, the permanent status of the territory, security arrangements, settlements, and borders. Yeah, okay. The Palestinians presented arguments in February along with 49 other nations and 3 international organizations. Wow. This is a well-sourced decision by the International Court. Erwin van Veen, a senior research fellow at the Clingendale think tank in The Hague, said that if the court rules that Israel's policies in the West Bank and East Jerusalem breach international law, that is unlikely to change Israeli policies, but it would, quote, isolate Israel further internationally, at least from a legal point of view. He said such a ruling would, quote, worsen the case for occupation. It removes any kind of legal, political, philosophical underpinning of the Israeli expansion project. It would also strengthen the hand of, quote, those who seek to advocate against it, such as the grassroots Palestinian-led movement advocating boycotts, divestment, and sanctions against Israel. He said it also could increase the number of countries that recognize the state of Palestine, in particular in the Western world, following the recent example of Spain and Norway and Ireland. Wow, shout out Spain and Norway and Ireland. Good call, y'all. Who wants to be on the right side of history? Come one, come all, to the right side of history, where we don't like when people kill each other. It's not the first time the International Court has been asked to give its legal opinion on Israeli policies. 2 decades ago, the court ruled that Israel's West Bank separation barrier was, quote, contrary to international law. Israel boycotted those proceedings, saying they were politically motivated. Wow. Well, I'm pretty sure that anything the International Court would do could be called politically motivated, especially by the country that is being addressed. It's like if like you're married and your partner is like, "Hey, you cheated on me," and you're like, "This is motivated by personal feelings." Israel says the barrier is a security measure. Palestinians say the structure amounts to a massive land grab because it frequently dips into the West Bank. The UN General Assembly voted by a wide margin in December 2022 to ask the World Court for the advisory opinion. Israel vehemently opposed a request that was promoted by the Palestinians. 50 countries abstained from voting. I don't have an opinion, actually. Israel has, obviously the U.S. will punish countries if they vote in favor of Palestine. Israel has built well over 100 settlements, according to the anti-settlement monitoring group Peace Now. 100 settlements. Wow, I never thought about how many there might be. The West Bank settler population has grown by more than 15%. 15%. In the last 5 years to more than 500,000. So more than 500,000 Israeli settlers, growing by 15%, more than 15% in the last 5 years in over 100 settlements, according to a pro-settler group. That's according to a pro-settler group. Israel also has annexed East Jerusalem and considers the entire city to be its capital. In addition, that's crazy, yeah, and Trump recognized it as a capital. But he's trying to be, like, tough on Israel occasionally nowadays. He's like, don't try not to remember I'm the guy that legitimized their state in a massive way by declaring Jerusalem, a holy city to multiple faiths, to be the capital of the Israeli state. So Israel also has annexed East Jerusalem and considers the entire city to be its capital. An additional 200,000 Israelis live in settlements built in East Jerusalem that Israel considers to be neighborhoods of its capital. Palestinian residents of the city face systematic discrimination, making it difficult for them to build new homes or expand existing ones. The international community considers all settlements to be illegal or obstacles to peace, since they are built on lands sought by the Palestinians for their state. So Israel's like, hey, you're messing with the peace process. We're just trying to make peace. Don't pay attention to our 500,000 settlers in over 100 settlements that have increased 15% in the last 5 years, that are declared by the International Court to be an obstacle to peace. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's hardline government is dominated by settlers and their political supporters. Netanyahu has given his finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, former settler leader, unprecedented authority over settlement policy. Smotrich has used this position to cement Israel's control over the West Bank by pushing forward plans to build more settlement homes and to legalize outposts. Authorities recently approved the appropriation of 12.7 square kilometers, nearly 5 square miles, of land in the Jordan Valley, a strategic that's a lot for Israel. It's a very small country in Palestine, a very small area. You know what I mean? Of land in the Jordan Valley, a strategic piece of land deep inside the West Bank, according to a copy of the order obtained by the Associated Press. Data from Peace Now, the tracking group, indicate it was the largest single appropriation approved since the 1993 Oslo Accords at the start of the peace process. So that was just recently. Israel is just appropriating more and more land quicker and quicker. And keep in mind, so that's the full article we just went over. And keep in mind, that's one very, like, that is just obviously the very tip of the iceberg with what's been going on. You could dig into all kinds of expansive details about what exactly these settlements look like, what are the Palestinian neighborhoods that have been wiped off the face of the map, not even with bombs, but with just forcing them out. How have natural resources and natural obstacles in this strange region of the world been used specifically by the dominant political force in that area to push the the victimized, like, minoritized group into like less and less profitable and rewarding and naturally rich areas, like where they're literally cordoned off, if not by a physical wall, sometimes by natural barriers. And so just there's all these different details of what we can go into, and we won't, because that was a good enough amount of detail into a serious topic. But it's important, obviously, and this is really bad when stuff like this happens, and we shouldn't just shy away from it and be cowards, because it's complicated. It's not that complicated at the end of the day. The stuff like this, like, you might be, the conflict in the Middle East is super complicated. Yeah, but it's not like you won't get it. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not like trigonometry or like some really complex math where like you might actually never get it. You know what I mean? Where like there are probably some subjects where you just might actually never get it. I think of like complex math. There's probably not that many, because even like philosophy, it's like, if it makes sense, you should be able to get it. But math, I feel like it could make sense, and you'd have to learn so many terms to even get there. But like, I guess, anyways, this is like history. You could get it. It's not like it's impossible to understand. If you understand words like annex and settle, it's just, it's really not that complicated at the end of the day. So that is that. Word of the day. We're going to go right from the international court's ruling on like the unlawful actions of Israel and the Palestinian occupied territories to word of the day. Is that what we're doing? Okay. There even is no word of the day. So it's like even worse. I think it would be bad already to go into a word of the day segment immediately following that, but to then not have a word of the day and just like Were you saying I shouldn't have mentioned the segment if there's nothing there? Why do you leave it in the doc then? Why do you leave it in the script? You know what I mean? I'm going to read every single word in this script. Like, yeah, okay. Okay, biz desk. Damn it. I'm going to get in trouble for that one. That's big. That was a big deal. We're trying this whole rebrand on the biz desk, and damn it. Okay, biz desk. This is from CNN.com. Boeing agrees to plead guilty to defrauding the FAA, but escapes punishment sought by victims' families. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to read it in that tone. I didn't realize it was going to end with the phrase sought by victims' families. I had like a not serious enough tone. You know what I mean? Can we get like a satire tag in this script so I know when to have a funny tone? Okay, Boeing. So Boeing is a aircraft company. They make aircrafts. They make planes. I like to call them aircrafts. Arts and crafts. Aircrafts are extremely serious business. Frankly, I don't really like flying. If I'm being totally honest, I've been on many flights in my life and I'll fly. I just, as I've gotten older, I don't really like it, you know. The lack of control mixed with I know it's safe, but it just doesn't feel safe to me. You know, I know it's safe and I know I'm being irrational, but I would just prefer to not, you know, take a plane overall. Like, you know, I mentioned being at a train station. You know what I mean? Like, going to a plane station and going to a train station are completely different things. One starts with a PLA and the other starts with a TRA. I feel more safe when I'm in a train. I just do. I know that statistically you're, you know, safe in a plane, and I think we should all feel safe when we're flying. I personally, you know, I just can't get over the fact that, like, there are plane crashes. Like, I know I should be able to get over it, but I just can't get over, you know, that fact. Like, that there are plane crashes. How many plane crashes since 1950? Or not since 1050. List of accidents and incidents involving commercial aircrafts. Okay. I would like to not have a list of them. Is there like more of a data? How many planes crash every year? What? No. Wow. Okay, that's including civilian aircraft. I mean like commercial civilian plane crashes. Commercial civilian plane crashes. Airplane. Okay, here we go. This is a website, panish.law. Don't tell me in flight hours. Just tell me how many crashes. Okay. 13,000 accidents. Wow. They really have to tell me per miles traveled. This is just, there were 4 in 2024. Wait, that's just January. Wait. So just in 2024, in January, there were 4. Whoa. Oh, never mind. These aren't all plane crashes. They're just like, one was a blown out door, but everyone was fine. Yeah, I remember that. Okay, let's just get it. Statista, is that a real, like, reputable website? I don't believe that website. Fatal air crashes per million commercial flights. There we go. Okay. ourworldindata.org. I feel a little more secure about. Okay, they've been going down since 1970. Um, oh, per million. Okay, what is this? Where's the data from? Oh, from. Oh, okay. It's actually from legitimate sources. Well, I can go to those. Aviation safety or asn.flightsafety.org/statistics. Flight Safety Foundation website. We're really going into. This was not supposed to be what the biz desk was about, but it's. I'll tell you, it's becoming more like the data desk, and we're gonna get to that in a little bit. You know what? Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. They happen, and I don't need to. Do we need to know exactly? So this data seems to say like 1 per million or like zero point 0.4 per million flights. I really just want to know how many happen a year. You know what I mean? Is that that seems like the most obvious like thing. I feel like one of those commercial plane crashes per year. AI. Wow, they're telling me per flight hours. It's just weird. It seems like there would be. It just seems like per year would be. You know what I mean? Like the most obvious way to do it. Okay. NS injury facts. What are these weird websites? Like why? It's just like lawyer websites. Why? Or it's like insurance? Is that why? Okay, National Transportation Safety Board statistical reviews being cited here. And it looks like it's a little bit, all fatal accidents. It's not a lot. It's like 1 a year. Anyways, I guess it's not that many. But so in this article, CNN is saying Boeing has agreed to plead guilty to one charge of conspiracy to defraud the United States for its role in 2 fatal 737 MAX, that's a type of plane, crashes. The Justice Department said in a court filing Sunday evening. It represents yet another black eye for the company after a series of embarrassing safety blunders. It seems like a nice way to put it. I would say horrific safety errors. But the agreement avoids what could have been more serious consequences. Boeing will pay up to $487 million in fines, a fraction of the $24.8 billion that families of crash victims wanted the aircraft maker to pay. The families of victims of 2 fatal crashes of the 737 MAX opposed the deal, the Justice Department said. But the guilty plea is a severe blow to the reputation of Boeing, a company once known for its quality and safety. So I just feel, and then the Justice Department defends the deal and says it protects the American public. It just, and then someone who lost their father on the Ethiopian Airlines crash says miscarriage of justice is a gross understatement in describing this. It's an atrocious abomination. I hope that, God forbid, if this happens again, the DOJ is reminded that it had the opportunity to do something meaningful and instead chose not to. Yeah, I mean, that's just like it will happen again. At the end of the day, it's just a matter of when. If companies are cutting corners, it's just like horrifying. Who wants to deal with that shit? If you look up why those crashes happen, it's complicated, but it wasn't. It seems like it was a function of neoliberalism. It seems like it was a function of okay, fine, maybe not. It just seems like them, a huge company like Boeing has too much power and control and creates the circumstances where it's disincentivized from actually practicing impeccable, safety measures, unfortunately. So that's the biz desk. Don't invest in Boeing. Short Boeing. Actually, don't even get involved. Okay, next up is the sports desk. So this is a Reuters article. It says, "Not like us. Argentina hit back after Canadian rapper Drake loses Copa bet." So Drake, who's been having a really good year, apparently lost $300,000. I don't know if it's Canadian or US dollars on a bet that Canada would beat the defending champions Argentina in Tuesday's Copa America semifinal. And when he was wrong, Argentina used Kendrick Lamar's song title to clap back. They responded to Drake's post about losing money, I guess. Let me see. Does he really post about that? I don't know. They just posted "Not Like Us" and like they made a graphic for it. Like they like legit like put time in. I mean Drake is a ambassador for gambling, which is a horrible thing to be. Gambling is an addiction that you should either, if you're able to do it in moderation, do it in moderation. And I should call it a habit. I'm sorry. It's a habit that's very addictive. And if you're able to do it in moderation, that's great. And if you're not, then just don't do it and seek help if you need help with it. And anyone being an ambassador for an addiction or for a habit that could easily be an addiction is pathetic, especially when they're already rich, which they always are. Otherwise, they wouldn't be the ambassador. It's pathetic when Magnus Carlsen does it. It's pathetic when Hikaru Nakamura does it. It's pathetic when Drake does it. It's pathetic when anyone promotes gambling because it's a habit. It's an extremely addictive habit that, people should not be incentivized or advertised about any more than they should have cigarettes advertised. So go ahead and promote cigarettes, Drake. Anyways, yeah. So he's obviously, going through a lot. Fantasy desk, I'm losing again my matchup this week, and there's basically no chance in my fantasy baseball league that I'm going to make the playoffs. I had a good run, though, and we'll try again in the future. Politics desk, France election happened. France election, so this was an article from the night of. Let me just find a different article because it's not loading. France election. So I like to follow things. It says Fox News, French elections, riots erupt after left-wing coalition projected to win plurality of seats. Thanks. So they're winning a plurality, but let's focus on riots erupting. No, it's funny. I mean, I guess you have to report the news. But The Guardian, France election surprise win for left-wing alliance keeps Le Pen's far right from power. So I find that the left wing, more people actually support them usually if they can get their message out. Washington Post, France election, far right's rise suffers unexpected blow as left surges. But apparently I did just see when I searched, there's more recent news. Macron ally wins surprise re-election as National Assembly Speaker. Vote for centrist MP marks first step out of governing limbo since snap elections left country divided. French lawmakers have re-elected centrist as that to try to help their gridlock. Okay, well, I don't know. That's actually, I don't know what to say about that. Art Desk, and this is Art Desk X women, not women, Workers' Rights Desk. So this is a collab between the Art Desk and the Workers' Rights Desk. This is from Art News, July 10th. Art history and performing art majors face highest rates of unemployment, new study finds. I think I saw this posted online and there was like a comment. Someone was like, you had to do a study about that? But yeah, I mean, that's, kind of an easy joke to make. The data is based on, or it's detailed in an online interactive chart. It's according to data analyzed by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Wow, among all college majors, wow. Art history, visual and performing arts, and graphic design majors nationwide have the bleakest employment prospects. Fine arts majors finish in close second place with a 7.9 unemployment rate. Um, you know, so what can we do about this? I guess I don't know. What am I supposed to do? Resolve this issue? Is that why you put this in the doc? I don't know. Yeah, people don't want to pay for art. It's not, it's pretty normal. Biography desk, which is a subsection of it's a subsection of the art desk. It's a sub desk. I'm reading Ninth Street Women, a book about Elaine de Kooning, Lee Krasner, Grace Hardigan, Helen Thaler, and Joan Mitchell, and it's super good, super interesting. I took a little break to read essays by Ben Davis, a really great art writer. Some new book of essays from a couple years ago, really interesting, about AI, about cultural appropriation, about all these things you're used to hearing people talk about, but he'll delve into them in such an interesting way and a really insightful way, and about art and the intersections of art and politics and art and political economy, and so many interesting subjects. So, okay, next up, the Reginald the Data Guy desk. So Reginald the Data Guy is a guy here at the Verbal Journal podcast who helps out, gathers data, now has a desk, what? No, it happens when it happens. The order of the desks is not an important thing, Reginald. He sometimes gets kind of caught up on where his desk falls in the order of the other desks. He always wants it to be as early as possible. Yeah, look, I get that. It's just not. There's a lot of desks. I don't think that's really something people think about, Reginald. I can't even call him Reggie. I wish I could, but he's always telling me, don't call me Reggie. He wears sometimes a name tag and writes Reggie and then crosses it out just to kind of prove a point. We wear name tags a lot around the office here because we're always having new people. There's a lot of turnover. I don't tell you about it because it's not the lead people. It's the other people. Okay. So first up in the Reginald the Data Guy desk segment, is there? Oh, just a brief reminder, Reginald. If this isn't good because of how things have been, I'm just gonna say this out front. I'm just reminding the listener. If you've been listening the last few weeks, Reginald just wouldn't have anything. So I just want to briefly say, before I even look at what's in the script and the doc, which Reginald supplies this segment. Before I even look, if this isn't good, we did agree that it's no longer a desk because it was 2 weeks in a row that you didn't have anything. Okay, so all right, let's see. Drum roll. Okay, so there's something here. So first, there is some data here about previous the Reginald the Data Guy desk segments. Okay, that's kind of a fun idea. So I guess you thought about doing sort of a review of Reginald. Does it say it says and then list made up data? It says that in the script right here. Did you put into the script to tell me to make up data as I'm reading this? That's unconscionable that you would do that. So apparently I'm supposed to say, make up data. So on episode 69, the Reginald desk segment was this long. And then on episode 70, the Reginald the desk section was this long. I'm supposed to make that up? And you're telling me to do that? You knew I would be the one reading this. Okay. I don't even know what to say to that. There's a part 2 to the Reginald the Data. Did you not want to actually do that? I mean, that's kind of a good idea to get all the different data about your own Reginald segments. That would be kind of funny and interesting. Why do you never want to do stuff like that, Reginald? Because when we had our whole sort of conflict a while ago, it was based around would you or would you not listen back to the episodes to gather particular data. In that case, it was much easier. It was just always at the beginning. Now I timestamp the video. So in the future, it will be easier to gather data. You'll be able to just go to segments and stuff like that. But I know I didn't always timestamp them. So, I take a little responsibility, even though I am the talent and I shouldn't have to do everything like that. I get that it's hard to listen back sometimes, but from my perspective, you do get paid for this. So I'm wondering, why is it, oh, sorry, I just hit the mic. Why is it that you don't want to do stuff like this? You know what I mean? You had the idea. That would have been really funny. You had 2 weeks actually to gather that data. It would have involved listening to it's 1 hour of work. I got to be honest. That's like 1 hour of work. So what's the deal? Yeah. Okay. So he doesn't he's not a fan. Yeah, he doesn't like the show. He's not a fan of this podcast, apparently, is what the problem is. And he doesn't want to spend any time listening to it. So good luck with that, Reginald. Hope the bosses don't hear that. I'm going to timestamp that Reginald gets fired. Just kidding. Okay, but part 2 of the Reginald the Data Guy desk segment, he left me here a Wikipedia article. List of Major League Baseball pitchers who have thrown an immaculate inning. Okay, that's kind of fun. He's always sucking up to me by doing baseball data. An immaculate inning is obviously in baseball when a pitcher strikes out all 3 batters in an inning with 3 pitches for each batter. No balls, no, you can have foul balls, 2 foul balls, no excessive foul balls. And 3 pitches a batter, minimum number of pitches. Well, not minimum number of pitches. That's cool, too, if they get 3 pitch innings or something. But minimum number of pitches to get 3 strikeouts. So perfect inning, immaculate inning for a pitcher. It's happened 114 times in Major League history and has been accomplished by 104 pitchers, 79 right-handed, and 25 left-handed, according to Wikipedia. First happened in 1889. I think we all remember that game. Frequency by decade. So it happened 113. Sorry. It happened 16 times in the 2020s, and it happened 37 times in the 2010s, and then it happened 14 times in the 2000s. So in the 2010s, it happened more than double the frequency it's ever happened. That's really interesting. Probably for a variety of complex reasons involving hitters and pitchers. Actually, the 2010s might have been peak sticky substances where pitchers were increasing their curves, spin rate and stuff with sticky substances. I mean, they just cracked down the last couple of years, but I bet it peaked in the 20s. I don't know. A lot of factors affect pitcher versus hitter stuff. But anyways, this isn't baseball desk, Reginald. That's a terrible article. I mean, you don't do data anymore. I'm taking your desk away. It's ridiculous. You don't have a desk anymore. You don't even do anything. Okay. Law desk / what is this? Law desk / Satan desk? What is that supposed to mean? Okay, this is the ESPN article. Jaguars sue Amit Patel, ex-employee who stole funds. First line, the Jacksonville Jaguars sued their former employee who stole $22 million from the team in Florida State Court Thursday. That's kind of a bad sentence. It should say, the Jacksonville Jaguars sued their former employee in Florida State Court Thursday for stealing $22 million. You know what I mean? But anyways, the reason this is the law in the Satan section is because the Jaguars are suing their former employee, for $66.6 million in damages. Which you have to think, I know they calculate all that, you have to think they could fudge the numbers a little. If it comes out to $66.6 million, and the reason, what's funny is this article was originally 66.6 million was in the title, the headline, and then they changed the headline. So I thought that was pretty funny, actually. But because come on, you could probably make a different amount. It doesn't have to be 66.6 million. You know what I mean? Okay, screen time desk. So sometimes I like to review my screen time reports, and I did just get my screen time report. So it's right here. I got to pull it right up here. This is my phone screen time, not my computer, not my other computer. 1 hour and 51 minutes average screen time, peaked on Wednesday because I was watching a bunch of videos on my phone. While I was traveling, I was watching Daniel Henschel videos because I find, as I've mentioned him many times recently, I find him extremely fun and interesting as a performer. I think he's doing some very unique performance art that is extremely funny. I do think there's definitely a hierarchy of his videos, and my favorites are the ones where he's telling a story, sort of, but not when he's excessively angry or emotional. I think that's all really good and adds to the channel in very deep and interesting ways. But personally, my favorite ones are like, where he's telling a story like about, shooting a waitress because he, the bottomless mimosas weren't bottomless or something like that. But anyways, so screen time, so it was a little bit less than the week before. YouTube messages app. Okay, I mean so that is a great segment. I'm sorry. Screen time desk. Chess desk is optional, and I don't feel like watching it or mentioning it. There's a big tournament going on now, but it's just like a chess.com one. It's like a rapid one. It's like, whatever. I'm looking forward to the World Championship. I don't know when that happens, but patron shout out. I don't have to do that every week, but thank you to everyone who's supporting. Thank you so much for giving money to me. I do appreciate it. I do need money, but I don't need your money if you need your money. You know what I mean? I don't need it more than you do. But like, if you have money you don't need, yeah, you know what I mean? I do appreciate it. I'm not going to lie. And mailbag segment. So before we get out of here, we love to read all the mail that we get from many, many people. Today we have Kiernan writing in, thank you, and subject line verbal gerbil. Wow, I love that. So let's see. Hello, Mr. Therapy. I'm writing, and this is from Thursday. I'm writing to you at the behest of a curious gerbil I've recently acquired with the strange ability to speak. His name is Barnabas, and through squeaks and chitters, he has told me how he so loves your show and has begged me to relay you a wire. So send I shall. Barney, it's probably Barnabas, that's probably the same gerbil. Barney would like to ask if you're familiar with the computer game Disco Elysium. It's a bit like a book that you experience rather than a game that you play, filled with unique characters, all with amazingly evocative portraits, some attached. Oh, wow. These are very, very interesting. I can't understand. Is this art that you have made, or this is very interesting art? I don't know if that's fan art or if that's official art, but that's beautiful art of the game characters, or the book characters, I should say. The characters are often very distant at first until you learn more about them and they open up to you. As a therapist, Barney thinks, I assume that they're saying, as me being a therapist, Barney thinks it would be very interesting to hear my perspective. But they might mean that Barnabas, the gerbil, is also a therapist. So I don't know. As a therapist, he thinks it would be very interesting to hear your perspective on some of the characters and how they've responded to their trauma. Thank you for your time and have a lovely Sunday/Monday. We would never record on a Monday. We only record on Sundays every single time. Therapeutically yours, Barnabas the verbal gerbil. Thank you so much for writing in, Barnabas. I'm not familiar with, unfortunately, I am actually not familiar with Disco Elysium. So I can't say my perspective on the characters, but I have heard good things about it, and I'm glad that there's such a deep game that people are enjoying. I barely play video games. I got like weirdly back into RuneScape to waste time a couple hours every few nights. in the last couple months, but I already am out of the phase again. But I do think video games can be really cool. So I'm not trying to be like, oh, I don't like video games. I just don't personally nowadays play a lot of video games. If I had a game system, I would totally play it, I think. But I've just never wanted to get a game system. And on my computer, I don't know. Yeah, I just really do spend a lot of time like painting and writing, like about art or just like taking notes on what I think about things I'm reading, or just like there's a lot of things that occupy me with my free time that I just don't. Yeah, I have spent many hours playing video games, but it's usually some stupid game like RuneScape that you like just have to get sick of like soon enough. So what's another game I got indie? I mean, I played like freaking Planet Zoo for a little while, but what's the game I like? I mean, I used to have like a PlayStation 2 or something when I was a kid. I don't know. You know what I mean? But it's, I know these games are like, it's like these games are so cool nowadays, but I just like, it just seems like a whole thing. I'm just like, I just don't, it's too, I'm like intimidated or something, but. Okay, so that was the mailbag. Thank you so much for writing in, and that was the episode. Thanks. I said thanks a few times already, and I guess I'll just say goodbye. So goodbye, and wow, long episode. Whoa, quite a long episode. Okay, I'll probably see you, or I won't see you, but you actually probably will see me next week, because I might do a visual journal. Call it visual journal podcast, right? I'm kidding. I know. No, they know the branding. Okay, it's the verbal journal podcast. Just okay. Yeah. Okay, goodbye. This is a podcast or something like that.